All right, welcome to the last week of pre-recorded lessons for the part-timers second year, and good luck for the upcoming F2. And of course, looking forward to a bit of a rest, and I'll see you back. I'll see you actually for the last week face-to-face in our contact sessions online. Don't forget about that. I will obviously follow up as I do on WhatsApp. But okay, then right after that, we can look forward to a nice bit of a race, man. All of us, for the July and June holidays. All right, so let's look at this week's lesson or first lesson. We're bouncing off what we covered in news, right? So we've actually been, well, I have been with everyone else, including the full timers, both second and third year have been revisiting this or news headlines or not news headlines, what am I saying? News writing, um, which is very important and lesson 46, please. I also posted up a revision, kind of like a revision for everyone. I was going to share it to everybody, both second and two as well. Specifically, journalism is applied to one of the questions in the third year formative too. So please don't get confused as to maybe it does apply to some aspect in so as a second year, your own varies with you actually reporting, quote unquote, not reporting, you're doing an outside broadcast from a certain place, and that still falls under the reign or realm of being on air, right? So please do check out the lesson on podcast, not podcast. Oh my word, where's my focus today on outside broadcast, specifically before you go and attempt that particular fourth question in the formative two. Okay, anyway, here we go. So moving into citizen journalism today, chapter 20, in the case of an emergency, page 237, 252, and chapter 21, which is citizen journalism page. In Next Level Radio, you'll find citizen journalism being covered in page 208 to 110. Sorry, 10. I'm going to just accept the fact that I make some execution mistakes in this lesson as it is, right? Okay. So what I want to do is obviously cover citizen journalism. Citizen journalism, just like from a bird's eye view, is what we've come to know as quote unquote. Well, it's contributive to being able to report on news around the world. It just means basically someone that isn't I suppose, a qualified with under both the realm of credibility, but also in terms of working, let's say, as a job description, is not an actual journalist, right? So you know this, and they take, let's say, somebody on social media. Ideally, this is where it happens, right? Will be, let's say, at a car crash first. They'll be at a robbing first. They'll see, let's say, a natural disaster, and immediately, obviously, record on their phones, post social media, and that's considered, like I say, under the realm of social citizen journalism, right? What does it actually continue to mean? It means that basically our citizens on the streets are able to get to the stories, which they get to the stories much quicker than we do because they are right there. And it's great, obviously, there's a hot lead there for journalists to be able to follow up and make sure that they do have some kind of coverage on what is happening in real time around them, around in the world around them. So, that's kind of the umbrella view of it. I am going to play two videos throughout the lesson, and they will be centered around, let's say, citizen journalism and traditional journalism, which you've now come to know is obviously, something we do on radio, traditional journalism, right? We do something on TV, we do something in official print, so something as that I'm going to say depends on a credible source, right? That we find in print. Okay, all right. So what happens in case of in case of an emergency? Well, Geller says that your staff should know the following: how to maintain credibility in order to collect, gather, and verify that information is it's correct. That it needs to be correct. And we've spoken about this before Your entire credibility as a station, never mind as a journalist, depends on how well you understand fact from fiction, right? So before it does go on air, don't be kind of tempted by the rush. I do understand, and we do tell you that if you don't put the new in news, it's not news at all. But you got to check yourself because you will genuinely destroy quite a lot more than just what you went to go report on as a bit of a mistake, right? We like to use the word allegedly or alleged, right? Quite often to safeguard ourselves, and that's okay, I suppose, to a certain extent. But also remember that while doing that, which you do on a consistent level, because stories are growing and they're growing, you don't know much, and people have said this, and people have released this as a statement, and so more obviously investigation needs to follow up for us to be able to say, okay, this is actually released as truth, nothing more than that, right? We got to be careful about being too dependent on that particular word or phrasing of allegedly and alleged, or alleged and alleged are two different things, right? So, or they use in different contexts, right? So, just so that we can get a story out, we can use allegedly everywhere, right? And alleged, and which is how basically, quote unquote, the fake news platforms basically bring in their bread and butter, right? How to get in touch with local authorities on the scene who can give you credible information. So I've said this before, like your database is super important. You, as a station of mind, as a broadcaster, should know how to access every service provider that is in within your community and your country, right? And that's the beginner of your that's the beginner, the beginner pack, right? The starter pack of where it is and how it is that you start to create content. I'm saying for your radio station, right? What is the right time and place for a listener to be able to call in and add their contribution, right? So definitely, obviously, like if there's someone at the scene, we would like to obviously have them call and tell us what they're seeing exactly, right? But they might also, I mean, if it's a crisis situation, then they might be a little bit preoccupied with the crisis, and we might not get like a really like a direct line of sight as to what is happening. We could hear hearsay again from certain listeners that might have passed the situation, or um again passed either by foot or by car or whatever it may have been, or again heard it through the grapevine or had seen something on social media, etc. So we have to obviously be careful in terms of credibility as to how much we share as quote unquote viable knowledge, right? What role should Twitter, for example, X and other social media play in disaster or major event coverage, right? Okay. In case of an emergency, managers should be clear about what they can and cannot ask for or of on non-broadcast staff. So somebody outside the station, as I said there, you'll see an example of a couple of people in just a moment. Someone needs to be the one who will make decisions about whether wall-to-wall coverage is needed of if or if periodic updates make more sense, right? So again, because it is and again, it's tantalizing, right? To be able to say, listen, we're in the zone, we're on the ball, right? And we're covering this like literally second to second or moment by moment, which is done. It's not that it's not done at all. We see this quite often, if you watch TV, just to try and be able to understand where more breaking news is more readily available, right? As opposed to radio, where you'll be able to see that they'll cycle the updates in terms of breaking news throughout their broadcasts and their conversations and their features and their whatever it is, specialities, whatever, and it will keep on coming, keep on coming, keep on coming, and growing and growing and growing and growing, and they'll obviously be well, obviously the studio anchor will be in touch with the field reporter that is actually there, that is assigned to this particular story, right? Okay, but anyway, assemble a book of context, as I said, a more electronic database that is functional to be able to support your say, man, it's a value in which you want to be able to provide as a radio station, right? As a content provider, right? Emergency number, operations centers, police department, fire and rescue, home or cell numbers of public information officers, or after-hour calls or for after-hour calls during saying work time and after hours. Right, staff checklists, local hospitals and emergency room numbers, and media and PR numbers for everybody also included here. They would tend to want to have a PR agent or PR department that could immediately and can or does immediately reach out to you, or you reach out to them quite easily. Right, local weather service numbers so that we can start looking at what it is that is happening, and we get it from the horse's mouth, right? So that's very important. Jerry Bell's emergency red binder says one, emergency numbers and context in place or in a place where everyone can find it. Very important. As I said, it's normally saved on a server. The server is being accessed by different remote hybrids of where the station exists, and where I'm saying to the journalists also exist, or the content creators, because that can also be accessed by the DJs as well, whoever it may be. It's accessed by everyone. It's available to everyone, right? So on a system is always better as opposed to some kind of handbook, right? Which is, well, you'll never actually ever see, right? A map of where staffers live and numbers where they can reach out, or you can reach out to them 24/7. Guidelines for crisis coverage interviews. Definitely. So again, how do we do this? Where do we go? What do we say? What are we allowed to ask? What are we allowed to state? And so on and so forth. Very important with crisis coverage interviews, right? Basic information about what to do for earthquakes, tornadoes, other natural disaster events, instructions about when to dump commercials, right? Because that's a hard one, right? Uh, and again, it really, really, really must be so important and a massive emergency, not breaking news like someone stated something. No, we're talking an emergency protocol here. That is, it is validated justified as a reason as to why it is that we move our most important point of revenue, the reason why the station exists, which is commercials, right? To anywhere else, right? You need street maps of your area. Invest in a good quality street map. And so, in other words, like more than just a GPS system on your phone from Google, make sure that the station staff are supplied with something more, I say intricative, right? Yeah, and that's right. Yeah, intricative. I mean, yeah, that does start to sound weird. Anyway, like with yeah, yeah, it's intricate. There we go. More intricate. No wonder I was saying this one wrong. Anyway, I got it right. It's fine at the end there, right? Create a mission statement for what you want your statement to do during a disaster, right? And during the crisis, very important, get a press play pass now so that you can have access to the actual place or event, develop a clock, and prepare a script. So, all non-professional broadcasters who may be pressed into duty do the following, or must do the following, right? Identify the name and title of that particular person, right? So that we know on air, we know who it is that we're talking to, what is their context, what is their credibility, should we say. We might even sometimes hire certain specific citizen journalists, right, to do certain work for us in places that we are not there, literally, I'm saying to you, in person, right? So they'll do the work for us. Alternatively, right, if we do get information from someone, yes, we want to know who it is, where they are, who, and perhaps maybe why we should trust them, right? Okay. In all, who is being called? Like, where are they located? What is the situation they want to actually report on? Find out maybe off air, no, definitely off air, the name and the contact number of the person who is coming on duty next, right? You can continue to provide this information for you, right? And when might an update on the situation become available? So we can be able to tease more, more concisely. Give me a second there. It might be freezing. Oh, there we go. I hope it didn't freeze in the audio. Right. We can actually go and throw forward and tease correctly, right? All right, so here we go. let's read successful coverage case studies on page 247 of Beyond Powerful Radio. Here it is right here. Okay, covering an emergency without a news stop. Here are Scott and stuff. Uh, um, let me just open my mouth and try and swallow up my saliva. Excuse me. Right, that might be better. Right, cultivate relationships with professors or other expert professionals of communications or journalism at local colleges, at universities, right, or universities in general. Recruit the best students to potentially become reporters for your station. They need the experience, they'll do it free. And again, you'll be able to use them, right? Again, you can't just say, do it for me. You obviously have to guide them, and they obviously, again, one have to go and abide by the guidelines. And I would say almost like this citizen journalism Bible, right? They'll have to apply themselves to, right? Because we have a station strategy and we have station norms and whatever it may be. Have a budget for emergency supplies and equipment or a trade account at a place where you contact your best clients during the time of crises, and see what can they or what they can do to help. Don't forget to ask what you can do to help them too, please. It is a two-way thing, right? You need them and they need you as well. Use all media, video, web, radio, phones. You can set up a flood channel, an earthquake channel, or an emergency channel within hours. Easy, easy, lemon squeezy, right? So get out your portable devices. I would say, the PDA is such an old it's still an old device anyway, but something that you can carry, right? And then it's an address book, right? Personal, I think, what is that? I don't even know what the D stands for. But anyway, it's something that saves all your contacts and there more information up. And now we obviously become more digitized. So this is something a bit of a norm, right? Remind yourself of whom you actually do know. Again, the thing is like just to save people in a contact list is not enough. You should actually get an app that can save them according to categories, this and that, whatever it may be. We can mark them off or tag them in this. I'm saying within the app so that it's easier, right, to be able to access them. Friends and business associates will always or will all want to help, and some of them may be actually experts, right? So during the heat of the crisis, drop regular programming and go to full coverage of what actually is happening, right? So, what is citizen journalism? And from here, we'll go into that short video in just a moment. Right. Citizen journalism consists of the development and delivery of content or stories via an audience, a regular person on the street, as I said before, rather than actually your experienced journalist or your credible journalist or accredited journalists deliver such stories. In other words, this means it's a method of reporting that involves citizens obviously supplying you with stories, right? Supplying the world, right, around them with stories while participating in the reporting and presenting of news and entertainment, right? Eyewitness reports are exactly that, the types of content that are shared with citizens at as eyewitnesses can range from obviously live and original reports from being at events or natural disasters, commentary and interviews of a more entertaining nature from outside the direct remit of, so in other words, the area, right, of the radio station itself. Right. So I think at this point you're going to start getting and understanding what it's all about. There are events that simply should not have been communicated in as much relevant detail to the world, but if it had not been for citizens on the ground taking and sending photographs, sending text, voice messages to their local radio stations and newsroom, this couldn't happen, right? So there are two benefits to incorporating citizen journalists into a radio station. Content, obviously, the first one, they're there when we're not there. right? They're in places we can't get to immediately, and it's also they're everywhere, right? All it takes is one short DM if we don't know them to be able to say, listen, can we talk to you? Whatever it may be. WhatsApp goes to, WhatsApp call is covered internationally, so we have no issues with interviewing somebody quite quickly and easily without I'm saying call rates, whatever it may be, right? And let me just actually get to the first one of these reasons. Firstly, it really helps to have an army of listeners who can act as a reporter or reporters across the radio station. So, broadcast footprint, and then obviously get to place and experience things that a traditional radio reporter cannot or will not be able to, right, access or necessarily be aware of. That's the most important thing, right? One person can't be an eye for the entire world, even a small baby sub ecosystem that they live and report on. They can't, right? Okay, secondly, the content provided to radio stations by citizens can offer a very realistic and human account of things. That's great, right? Because it gives us a lot more flavor, beef, layering, right, to our product at the end of the day. It's not just us saying things, and you know this. I'm going to say this, it applies to obviously your shows as well. Get more people involved, more voices on your show, because then it's not just you. You don't know anything. Well, I mean, I say anything or everything. You don't, right? Like, so the thing is, get it rather for many other people, and you are the conduit of information, right? Anyway, okay, when there is a fire or a protest against, like, or going, warring, right? So in other words, just going in sideways or whatever it is, journalists might not actually be there at the time to witness and write about it, right? Going array. It's an odd word, but I know what it means, right? In other words, it's happening right now. It's growing somewhere. It might have just started. In other words, it's got a life. It's got a lifespan. It's on its lifespan. It's moving through it, right? Citizen journalism, on the other hand, enables life immediate, right? Enables live immediate witnesses eyewitness accounts of events and daily happenings. Right. So before we go here, let's quickly head off. I'm going to start to share here. Let's do a little bit of a quick video on YouTube that I have looked at. Here, it's a short one of
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show. Welcome back. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso, and we're live on 3. Hey, thanks for joining us this morning. Now, when last have you sat back, relaxed, 10 pages of a newspaper? Well, most of us receive our news on digital platforms now, and it has given rise to the phenomenon that anyone can deliver news if you have a smartphone.
There was a time when news wasn't news until it appeared in a credible newspaper. Now, news is anything on your social media timeline. But who do you trust?
I think the news on the paper is more accurate, so I don't believe everything I hear on social media.
Social media is more immediate and things happen real-time news.
But for me, older generation, probably newspaper.
If I didn't get the newspaper at work, how else would I know what's going on? Through social media.
I think it is important because it gets the word out there, because I know a lot of people are on Facebook, Instagram, things like that.
I don't think that the uploading of a story makes you a journalist.
I think you have to be qualified to be a journalist. It's not something you can just do.
Traditional journalism has become more reliant on citizen journalism. Often citizens have released stories and information online before traditional news organizations, which has its pros and cons.
Social media and citizen journalism has impacted on traditional journalism in a big way. We are definitely more on our toes. We have to pay attention to various things, various platforms, because the citizens are the ones telling us those stories now. But we definitely need both to tell a complete story. There isn't a set of rules around it, so people do still get away with a lot of things. So we, as journalists, we still have to verify absolutely everything. Even though it might be a great story, it might not be true. So we always have to check our facts.
Key players in the industry can see how ordinary people and journalists can work together to bring the truth to light.
I think citizen journalism has impacted traditional journalism in the sense that it's made the job for us journalists much more easier.
Whenever like a story breaks, whoever is at the scene is able to put it out there, and we can simply find it.
Traditional journalism of us getting a phone call and rushing to a scene and getting there, everything is finished. You know, it can't work anymore.
If you don't check these things, these stories can blow up in your face. So we have to use all our checklists as journalists. I think in the public's mind, you won't trust Joe Soap, you'll trust a newspaper because you know that newspaper has been a consistent, reliable source of news for many years.
News organizations have to consider the new generation that relies heavily on their mobile devices.
So even though the world is becoming a lot more technologically advanced and everybody's got a cell phone, I think there's still people out there who want to hold a newspaper in their hands and read the newspaper and look at it in a traditional way. We have adapted. So we do have online platforms where people can also pick up the news.
Although citizen journalism has its place in our high-tech world, it's questionable if it will ever be as credible as traditional news sources. But whether you're a page-turner or a phone swiper, the important thing is to stay informed of the world around you.
Right, this is the other one I'm going to play for. No, yes, yeah, this is the one. I'm going to play just a little later. Let me stop the share over here. Let's close it off. Right, now there was a long one. It was a 10-minute one. I think it's one underneath there. Okay. That's one I want to play. So back here, let's close the lesson off, right? Okay. So knowing that now, I think it puts it into perspective. I know it's starting to put it into perspective as to, you know, exactly what it is. We go and we have a look. And once again, our social media, we really do tend to believe, unfortunately, a lot the predominant amount of what we see on social media. But yes, they just mentioned there, like we need to be careful a lot, right, as to not spread fake news, right? So someone taking a video of something could also be a dated video and then proclaiming it to be something that's happening right now in a certain area. That's incredibly unethical as well. So, for example, there was and it's not an actual piece of, let's say, video or audio, but if you there was obviously there's been so many times that we've had to tackle xenophobia here in South Africa, and it's going to continue as it does actually in every single country around the world, right? But the thing is that there was when the foreign officials, right, were being attacked and with their homes, their workplaces, and whatever it may have been, their shops or their businesses. There were a number of papers, right, so online papers that were using imaging, right, that trying to describe, or not trying, using the images to describe or support their literal, obviously, a copy, right, that they were writing there. Then what I did is, because I'm so clever, because obviously I'm a broadcaster, and also you're a media practitioner, right? You just go and you can Google just the image alone, right? And then what I saw on a number of them that they dated 5 years ago, 6 years ago, they don't even happen in South Africa. It's pictures from Nigeria and places, right? As to how much and how many times we should go and share false information, right? Both the imaging, even if the article is true, right, and it's not a stock image itself, it's lying, right? And so the thing is, again, we're just no, I don't even know what else to say, right? We're not like that. Anyone can become a citizen reporter. Information is coming from everywhere, right? So if the public is to be able to rely on your product, at some point, a real journalist is going to have to take the reins here. So they'll use the citizen and their media or their coverage or whatever it is, and will have to follow a story within their own capacity, because That's one, just lazy journalism, also irresponsible journalism. As we said, there is the temptation to be able to sit and want to post something immediately. We do that every day in our own capacity, but it is not right. By using citizen journalists, you expose your station to the possibility of putting out incorrect information and damaging your credibility. So, your people, right, need to become, in other words, your people, your radio station people, need to become more experts on editing, fact checking, powerful storytelling, that type of stuff. Give context, not just content, right? So, what are the risks? There are, however, obviously big risks without formal training and the obligations of regulations under which journalists operate. Citizens can and will interpret information without factually reporting on it because it's extremely biased, right? They are and therefore not necessarily adept at, so they're not aware of or even inclined to the elimination process of bias or removing their own opinion of the events and what they see and what they hear and what they experience, right? So this can lead to false information or conflicting views on the same incident. We do want to be able to present people with different angles and want to be able to show kind of a democratic liberal view of being able to show freedom of speech, freedom of information, etc. But again, everything comes to the but, and the but of what follows the but's very important, right? So such inaccurate details can be very damaging in a number of ways. To you, to them, they could care less, right? I'm saying unless they're trying to proclaim themselves as a professional of something. True, but also what happens outside the station really doesn't matter, right? It's what happens to you and something that you think a small mistake, something small, you can think you can go and pass the blame on somebody else. Nah, it like if credibility is even threatened at your radio station, you're going to take a long time to try and mend that particular bridge between you and your listener. They can lead to lawsuits, demands of only apologies, which is embarrassing, and complaints which may be escalated to tribunals like the BCCSA and the dismissal of staff in general. In short, a radio station and its news and editorial teams need to weigh up the value of citizen journalism alongside their own policies and obviously obligations to the listener. With the evolution of the internet, right, ordinary people are increasingly publishing, yes, their own content. Predominantly not out of responsibility. It's not, it's not that, right? It's obviously for likes and it's obviously for shares and obviously for social media growth and that type of stuff. So know that the intention is not in line with yours, right? But we can and we do always use what we find online as a good springboard or core, a soundbite, a this, a that, whatever it may be, right? Within how we obviously operate as a news department, right? So these people are active participants in the media space rather than just consumers of information and entertainment, right? Hopefully, this will provide a plethora of viewpoints. It does, right? Specifically when it is quite I'd say every story is important, but certain stories become a ripple, have a ripple effect of impact on the society, which we would like as many viewpoints to something, so that we can share with our listeners in particular subjects or events to understand different points of view and approaches to these topics, as I just said there, right? So this is where citizen journalism extends the life and conversations of on-air content, right, by providing post-mortems. That means after effects and in-depth analysis of events that do actually take place. Right. Once they have taken obviously place, this will add to the richness of the story. So let's take a look at the case study about a situation in which citizen journalism played a role in keeping listeners informed of events where radio journalists were not intended to report on the situation on page 209. I just want to see if the next one is there. Oh, why is it already finished? Okay, let me just see here quickly. I'm just going to take the example. down the end right here. In a second here. 209. I'll just give the right textbook. 209. Oh, yeah. Okay. So on 209 in Beyond Powerful Radio, there's a case study. Radio 702 uses citizen journalism to launch a book. Okay, so you can just pick up your book and let's read through this case study together. It's not that long, but let's have a read through together. Right, it starts off. On the evening of Tuesday, 9th of April 2019, South African author and noted investigative journalist Peter Louis Myburgh was scheduled to deliver a speech and signed copies of his recently released book, Gangster State Unraveling Ace Makashule's Web of Capture. The book launch event took place at the Santon branch of Exclusive Books, a leading bookstore chain that regularly hosts book signing by famous South African and international authors. However, the launch had been underway for about 15 minutes or so when a rampage broke out. As the title suggests, the book is a controversial account of the corrupt dealings of a high-profile politician of the ANC. So the secretary, he was the Secretary General of the ANC under the president of Cyril Ramaphosa, Ace Makashule, right? By all accounts, well, obviously didn't move on. By all of the accounts, the book was explosive, written by seasoned investigative journalists. The book explored numerous allegations in detail, including Makashule's relationship with the notorious Gupta family, his dealings with government projects, and those that failed to deliver to the poor who were intended to benefit while allegedly, right, enriching Makashule's family and his near arrest by the Scorpions before they were disbanded. Right. Okay, let's continue it on to the next page, 2010 or 1010. 210, what am I saying? 210, page 210, 210. On the evening of the launch, a group of the ANC youths disrupted the book launch, damaging property in the bookstore, tearing up copies of the book in question, and distributing pages around the store. And finally, it prevented the author from speaking during a Q&A session. Right, okay, let me just move across that little session, right? By chanting ACE loudly, Johannesburg Talk Radio Station 702 discovered via social media and calls from their listeners attending the book launch and that this was disruption, or there was a disruption that was underway, right? So they broke the story in their evening news bulletin on the morning show, the Money Show, hosted by Bruce Whitfield. So that was around just after 6 o'clock. Then they then made contact with Myburgh and the marketing manager of Penguin Random House. So that person is Amanda van Rijn, who telephonically reported that they were witnessing, or what they were witnessing in the store at the time. So the phone calls that were taken live on air communicated the intensity of the chaoses unfolding during the book launch, where listeners across 702 land could hear people chanting and the sound of destruction of property. This enabled the radio station to break the news first in a bulletin delivered by the on-air or on a news presenter for the show, Tara Penny, right? And to then follow up with a phone call in which Whitfield spoke firsthand to witnesses of the disruption, one of whom was the author of the book. The digital team at 702 then issued several social media posts that provided visual images and videos for 702 followers to see what actually happened at the event, right? Really done. Due to the violence that broke out at the Johannesburg book launch, Exclusive Books cancelled the planned Cape Town launch that was due to take place in the same week at the V&A Waterfront bookstore. So as 702 had carried this story in Johannesburg, in Cape Town-based let me start that again. Its Cape Town-based counterpart, Cape Talk, offered its own building as a site for the book launch to take place as planned. Through citizen journalism, both 702 and Cape Talk were able to not only get first-hand breaking news on air, and to develop several subsequent pieces of radio and digital content. But through the book launch that they hosted, they were able to position their radio stations as supporters of free speech, a critical brand association for these stations as unbiased truth-tellers of news and current affairs programming. This move lent the radio stations a type of street credit that they seldom have the opportunity to cultivate directly through their own marketing efforts. It also acknowledged the key role that citizen journalism or journalists play in 702 land by calling into the station to share their news, and so this cemented their place in a community that upholds the tenets of free and fair media. Okay, right. So there are just obviously the key points. What you need to do is the following activity, right? Using the internet, select about recent major local event: power plant explosion, toxic gas leak, or release multi-car accidents, major mudslide, etc. on a Word document. Describe the scenario that places you at the scene of this event and able to communicate with the media outlets as citizen journalism. However, the only service available you have is X. Now, you need to limit your communication to 140 characters, so you're more than welcome to use the text abbreviations, right? So instead of later, use the word L8 and R. Note, to check the exact characters in spaces, simply select the entire text of the tweet, drag cursor left mouse button held on over the lettering, and you'll get that over there. Then from the top, click on tools and select word count, and you'll get it in front of you. Alternatively, it's just going to show directly when you go over, it shows in the red, right? You know that. For the three main parts of the event, the beginning, middle, and the end, compose at least 2 tweets describing as much of the situation as clearly as possible, right? So remember, you are the eyes and the ears of that particular scene, right? And be certain to paint pictures with words discussed in your textbook, right? So I'm going to just close that over here, right? That over there, so that we can just look at it in one video. And there it is. So, yeah. We go down. Second. This is the one I'm taking. Okay, let's watch this one. Close off.
To think about how much influence ordinary people have on the news today. In a world dominated by smartphones and social media platforms, anyone with an internet connection can report on what happened. This phenomenon, known as citizen journalism, is reshaping the way we consume information. From breaking news updates on Twitter to videos uploaded on YouTube exposing critical issues, citizen journalism has empowered individuals to play an active role in the media landscape. But what does this mean for traditional journalism? Is it a challenge or an opportunity? And how is this form of journalism shaping the future of news? Let's explore. What is citizen journalism? Citizen journalism is the practice of individuals who are not professional journalists reporting and distributing news and information. Unlike traditional journalists who follow editorial standards and work for media organizations, citizen journalists act independently, often driven by their personal experiences or access to immediate events. With tools like smartphones, social media platforms, and live streaming apps, they can report on incidents in real time, bypassing the need for traditional media channels. A powerful example of this is the role citizen journalists play in natural disasters. When traditional media crews take hours or days to reach disaster-stricken areas, local residents equipped with smartphones are often the first to share updates and images. This approach to journalism democratized news production, allowing anyone with a voice to share their perspective. It has also filled gaps left by mainstream media, especially in areas or communities that are often overlooked. For instance, stories about environmental damage in rural areas or grassroots political movements have gained visibility thanks to citizen journalists who are directly connected to these issues. The rise of citizen journalism in the digital age. The digital age has been a turning point for citizen journalism. Social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok have become powerful tools for reporting news. In many cases, citizen journalists are the first to break major stories, from natural disasters to political protests. The rise of this trend can be attributed to the accessibility of technology. Smartphones with high-quality cameras and internet connectivity have turned everyday individuals into potential reporters. Events that once required a team of journalists and expensive equipment to cover can now be documented by anyone on the spot. One of the most notable examples of citizen journalism's power occurred during the Arab Spring. Protesters used social media to share real-time updates, organize demonstrations, and document government crackdowns. This movement gained international attention largely due to the efforts of citizen journalists who bypassed state-controlled media to show the world what was happening on the ground. Similarly, in recent years, videos capturing police brutality have sparked global protests and movements such as Black Lives Matter. These moments underscore the critical role citizen journalists play in bringing justice and accountability to the forefront. The role of social media in citizen journalism. Social media platforms are the lifeblood of citizen journalism. They serve as both the distribution channels and the tools for engaging audiences. Platforms like Twitter are often used for live reporting, while YouTube and Instagram enable longer, more detailed stories. Facebook groups and Reddit forums allow citizen journalists to collaborate, verify information, and build communities. The speed at which news travels on social media is unmatched. Breaking news can go viral within minutes, reaching millions before traditional media even picks up the story. For example, during major global events like protests, natural disasters, or political upheavals, hashtags on Twitter become a central hub for updates. However, this speed comes with its own set of challenges, particularly in verifying the accuracy of information. A single unverified post can spread like wildfire, leading to misinformation or unnecessary panic. This highlights the need for critical thinking and media literacy among social media users. Advantages of citizen journalism. Citizen journalism offers numerous benefits that traditional media struggles to replicate. Immediacy. With citizen journalists often on the ground as events unfold, news can be reported in real time. This rapid dissemination of information can save lives during emergencies, such as natural disasters or violent incidents. Diversity of perspectives. Traditional media sometimes overlooks marginalized communities or lesser-known issues. Citizen journalism brings these stories to light, offering a more inclusive view of the world. Empowerment. It allows individuals to raise their voices and hold power structures accountable. The accessibility of tools like smartphones and social media ensures that almost anyone can participate. Challenges of citizen journalism. While citizen journalism offers numerous advantages, it is not without its flaws. One of the biggest challenges is the issue of verification. Unlike professional journalists, citizen reporters often lack the training to fact-check or follow journalistic ethics. This has led to the spread of misinformation and biased reporting. Another issue is the lack of accountability. Traditional news organizations have editorial teams to oversee content and ensure accuracy. In citizen journalism, there is no such safeguard, which can sometimes lead to sensationalism or the violation of privacy. Ethical considerations, such as respecting the boundaries of privacy and avoiding the publication of harmful content, are often overlooked. For example, in the rush to share breaking news, sensitive images or unverified claims may go viral, causing harm to individuals or communities involved. Additionally, the rise of fake news and deepfake technologies poses a serious threat. As these tools become more sophisticated, it becomes increasingly difficult to discern between genuine and fabricated content. Impact on traditional journalism. The rise of citizen journalism has forced traditional media outlets to adapt. Many have embraced social media to stay relevant, incorporating user-generated content into their reporting. News organizations now rely on videos, photos, and information provided by citizen journalists, especially during breaking news events. However, this integration has also led to competition. Traditional journalism, with its rigorous fact-checking processes, often cannot match the speed of citizen journalism. As a result, many outlets face pressure to prioritize speed over accuracy, a shift that can undermine journalistic integrity. At the same time, citizen journalism has pushed traditional media to expand their coverage, particularly in areas that were previously ignored. Stories about marginalized communities, grassroots movements, and local issues have gained prominence due to the efforts of citizen journalists. The future of journalism. As we look ahead, the future of journalism appears to be a collaborative one. Citizen journalists and traditional media are increasingly working together to provide comprehensive and accurate news coverage. With advancements in technology, such as AI-powered verification tools, the challenges of misinformation and bias may become easier to manage. Citizen journalism will likely continue to play a vital role in highlighting underreported issues and providing diverse perspectives. However, fostering media literacy among the public will be crucial to ensure that audiences can critically evaluate the information they consume. Technological advancements could also bring new tools for both citizen and professional journalists. For example, blockchain technology could be used to verify the authenticity of videos and images, helping to combat misinformation. Meanwhile, virtual reality and immersive storytelling could provide audiences with new ways to experience and understand the news. The digital age has revolutionized journalism, breaking down traditional barriers and enabling a more diverse range of voices to contribute to global conversations. In this new era, the lines between professional and amateur reporting are increasingly blurred. Citizen journalism has emerged as a powerful force, empowering individuals to document, share, and influence the way news is produced and consumed. With just a smartphone and an internet connection, ordinary people can shine a light on critical issues, bringing stories of injustice, resilient change to the forefront. While citizen journalism has its challenges, such as misinformation, lack of accountability, and ethical concerns, it also holds immense potential. By addressing these hurdles through better technology, education, and collaboration, this grassroots form of reporting can create a more inclusive, transparent, and dynamic media landscape. Traditional media, recognizing the value of this evolving trend, is increasingly working alongside citizen journalists to expand their reach and provide more comprehensive coverage. As technology continues to evolve, we may see even greater collaboration and innovation, paving the way for a participatory and accountable future for journalism. The next time you witness a viral story or a raw video captured by an everyday person, ask yourself, what role will you play in this transformative narrative? If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and hit the bell icon to stay connected to the stories that shape.
Great video. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna stop the share there. It's not that there. All right. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you next one.